All right, guys, what is going on today on the podcast? I have Austin Johnson, man. How you doing today?
Amazing, bro. Amazing.
I love it. So me and Austin, we met in Sedona. We did Man Clan together. I was filming out there in Sedona with Troy Casey, and you came on, man. You're great. You're one of the young guys like me, and came in with a lot of energy, a lot of fucking tenacity, and I was like, "Fuck yeah, man! Another cool dude into self development and ready to change his life and other people's lives." And that shit was awesome, man. So how did you end up there?
Brother. Um, so that was only about what was that, like 8 months ago? And I feel like it's been years.
Mm-hmm.
So much has changed and evolved, and
That's awesome.
so many things have blossomed since then. And
Yeah.
there's just amazing work. But I found Troy Casey on Instagram and on YouTube doing a lot of breath work and preaching about holistic health, and followed him from from Elliot Hulse, actually. And
Yeah.
so Elliot Hulse, I've been a student of his for about 3 years, 4 years now. And he just showed me a lot of what it was like, what it meant to be a real man. With true discipline and true austerity in your practice.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have a very strong father growing up, and I didn't have a lot of men in my life that were good examples of masculinity and divine masculinity. And that word and term is being evolved as we speak, but
Yeah.
true divine masculinity was not really present in my life. But I was surrounded by women, my mom, my sisters, my grandma, my aunt, her 3 daughters. So I had a lot of emotion, a lot of these women who are showing me a lot of emotion, spontaneity, this connection to this intuition, and a lot of these things that our beautiful women and queens out there inspire us to be like. But coming into my young adulthood and as a young man, there was more underneath. I had so much ambition, I had so much strength, and I didn't know really where to put it. And so, I got caught up in a lot of bad things, and I was just kind of being reckless. And happened to have a great friend and mentor of mine who showed me Elliot Hulse. And Elliot Hulse was like one of the first real father figures, you could say, who kind of showed me kind of what it looked like to be a man with strong principles. What it looked like to uphold true honor and respect for oneself, and also to look to something higher than yourself, a higher authority, something that I had not seen before as well, or had ever really applied. And so throughout Elliot Hulse's stuff, I was on his King Transformation program, doing a lot of cool stuff with him, and learned a lot about Osho and dynamic meditation and bioenergetics. And using the breath and the body to really eradicate traumas, activate and release traumas. I stumbled across Troy Casey being with him, and I was like, dang, this guy's freaking cool. So I started following him, and there is one thing, I really resonated with Elliot Hulse quite a bit, but there was something about Troy. I was like, dude, this guy's like on it. Like, I love Troy, and it's because he's a little bit weird, and so am I.
Yeah.
And Elliot's like a rock, man. He's like a stone. And Troy's just out there, and whoa. And I was like, hey, I resonate with that.
It's like the opposites a little bit.
Yeah. There's a different in spectrums there. But the other thing that was something that I really resonated was the nature, the connection to nature. Using this holistic practicing as a way of life, with nature, with plants, with medicines, with breathing, with movement, all these natural forms of medicine that I saw Troy doing. It really resonated a lot with me. And so I started doing his breath work on YouTube, and I started implementing that in my own life, and I started seeing massive changes. I was doing like the emergency breath and stuff like that. And then I saw what he was doing with Elliot. And so I saw on Instagram that he had that Man Clan. I was like, I'm there. I had to be there. And it was honestly so hard to get there, man. Like, I had to fly.
Really?
I flew into Phoenix. I rented a Tesla. The Tesla died halfway driving up to Sedona. I had to find him where to charge it. I was like, dude, anything. And then I finally found a spot to charge it. And it was like 15 minutes away from my hotel, and it was like 2 a.m. And so I had to sit there for like 3 hours at 2 a.m. So it was just a mess to try to get there. But it was like the universe was like, how bad do you want it? Like, how bad do you want this?
It's like a perspective. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, you know what? I'm here. I'm committed. I want to do this. And it was one of the very first retreats that I had done, especially around the sweat lodge,
Hmm.
around a lot of our practices. That was my first ice bath.
Oh, wow. Wow. Nice.
And now I have a deep freezer in my backyard. I
Fuck
do it.
yeah.
I do it every day. And
I
so
love that.
that retreat really sent me on a way, man. It really did set me up for greatness, because ever since then, um, I'm now the founder of a men's consulting company called Tribesman,
Fuck yeah.
where we're utilizing a lot of those same practices, and we're optimizing physical, spiritual, mental health. And if you would have talked to me about this during that man clam, wouldn't even really came across my mind,
Dude,
So
that's awesome.
yeah, it really was. Meeting you was great, man. It was awesome to see the range of ages there. You had some
Hmm.
older guys, you had some younger guys, and you're just cool as hell. So that was fun to just think out
Appreciate
there.
it.
Yeah, and we were and
Yeah.
we were and we were just having fun. I think that's another cool thing that like was brought to the table, is like all this stuff isn't necessarily just work, but we're
Hmm.
we're having fun.
Yeah, definitely.
We're doing ice baths. We're out in the mountains. We're out in this beautiful place in Sedona, and it was snowing. Do you remember snowing?
Yeah, that was pretty badass, man. I'm doing ice baths in the snow and running and
Oh man, yeah.
yeah.
We were camping in the snow, man. I had my
Yeah.
I had my tent was covered in snow, and I had to de-thaw my zipper like, boy, oh boy. That's what the men will do, whatever it takes.
I love
So
that.
so yeah, man, no, it was a beautiful time, man. And honestly, it set me up for greatness, because after leaving there, I just felt so like a big part of me was missing. And
Yeah.
that's really what I'll say. I'll close on it, is just that there's like this tribalism that I feel that men are lacking, and that
Yeah.
they're missing. They
100%.
have this like primitive instinct to be with the tribe, and we
Hmm.
don't, and we find it in maybe our groups, or maybe in sports. You see men gang together in their football team or baseball team, but there's like this primitive tribalism that's lacking,
Yeah.
and so when you bring men together like that around fire, water, earth, air, and spirit, there's like this real deep rooted fulfillment that comes.
Mm.
And that's what I felt there, man. Was a great sense of fulfillment, and that I was um, doing something that my ancestors have done for millions of years, or thousands
Yeah.
of.
I
Yeah.
love that, man. Now
Yes.
was Elliot Hulse like it was crazy as Elliot Hulse was like my first also introduction to like a strong role model. And
Yeah.
that happened to me after high school. And he was like, at first I didn't like him. I was like, man, like fuck this guy. He's just trying to like work out and being stupid. And
Yeah.
then I listened to his advice and like he was really well spoken. I think that's one of the first things that really stood out to me about Elliot Hulse was his dialect. He was very well spoken. I was like, oh shit, this guy's actually jacked and smart. And I was
Mhm.
like, I always want to emulate that. Someone who's like athletic, who could kind of like do it all, like smart, like take care of their body and their brain. Is that when you also got into, like developing yourself and kind of recognizing that there's a person inside you that you could develop and chisel away and improve on?
Yeah, it's crazy, man, because like I've gone through so many different stages and so many different waves of life. I'm very well versed in a lot of things, maybe some things that aren't that good, some things that are great. Because I've been in martial arts for a really long time. Done martial arts has been a big part of my life, about 18 years, so
Damn, what do you do?
yeah, I've done Kempo karate, and then I went into Muay Thai, Judo, Aikido,
Oh
Jiu-Jitsu.
shit.
I did a lot of stand up, and then a lot of everything. But what
Fuck
really
yeah.
stood out the most was I noticed that there was this big thing happening where there was a culture of just wanting to fight people, and that wasn't necessarily why I got in it or liked it. So I went
You
in.
you started fighting people?
No, 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 no. There was
Oh,
that
okay.
that was the culture behind MMA.
Got it. Got it.
You're training to fight.
Got it.
You're not training the mind. You're not training the body. You're not training
Mm,
spirit. You're training to fight. And
mm-hmm.
I was very called from a very young age to the Taoist and Buddhism. At like 6 years old, man, like 6, 7 years old,
Damn.
I was really, and I don't know why it called me. My father, like I said, he's not a strong father, but it's because he actually practices very heavily Taoism.
Mm,
So he's very passive.
mm,
But he's a great man. He's a great guy. He always provided. He's a beautiful, beautiful man. He's just very passive and maybe not as assertive
got
as me.
it.
And so that was where like him and I like didn't link up, was because I'm this like real big fireball energy, and he's very like None. You know,
Mm-hmm.
very introverted, very shy, very calm. But there was a big perspective for that. You know, and so he showed me a lot of Taoism, Buddhism. He showed me a lot of Hinduism at a very
That's
young age.
awesome, dude.
Yeah, so martial arts. I then got into kung fu, very traditional kung fu. I was doing Wing Chun, Tai Chi, Hung Ar, and Shi for a while, at a very young age. Jeet Kune Do, Bruce Lee was a big.
Dude, that's so cool.
Yeah, dude. So I was doing this very young, at like 7 or 6 years old, just
That's
really.
so sick.
And so with that came like this understanding of like meditation and this like understanding of natural principles and
Yeah.
body mechanics and a lot of that cool stuff. Um, but I guess just a little backstory is then I was actually on my way to being a neurosurgeon, man. That was my passion. I wanted to be in the medicine. And so I
Mm-hmm.
was like studying all this. And so I was like honor roll student and all this stuff, man. And everybody knew me as this kid who was like going to make it that way. But then I started studying political sciences, and I started seeing that, you know, maybe a lot of this system was not actually our friend, and you know,
Yeah.
maybe it's not actually here to benefit us. And due to that, I went exact opposite. I was very defiant and really reckless in my high school years. After that, I felt a little betrayed,
Yeah.
maybe betrayed by my country, betrayed by my the system,
Yeah.
if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I went like, you know, just destructive mode, big time. I was always financially stable because I had good jobs and I was doing, I always worked hard, and I got my first place when I was like 17 or so.
Very cool.
Yeah, so you know, started doing all that stuff, and then I kind of went pretty reckless and crazy, and it was fun. Don't get me wrong, a lot of fun stuff. But then I started noticing, like, dude, this is like reckless. There's no structure here. It's very hyper emotional. I'm anxious all the time. And a big thing that I really practice a lot now, especially within my company, is you know, I use substances. I was abusing substances and alcohol for a very long time, about 6 years or so. There never was a day where I wasn't using substances when I was in my about 17 years old to maybe about like 22.
Wow.
Yeah, and it wasn't because I was addicted. It was just because of this lifestyle,
Yeah.
where we were just partying, and like you're kind of stuffing a lot of emotions down with this. You're sedating yourself with this. You're not really you're in this lifestyle where that's the only way to like hang out with people.
Right.
That's like,
Yeah.
it's a cultural norm.
Mm-hmm.
It's just all this stuff. And so I got heavily involved in that whole culture. And then I started noticing like just super hyper emotional, super hyper anxious, super not grounded,
Yeah.
maybe very spiritually and emotionally inclined as everybody around me, but not like no grounding, no like strength and
Got it.
determination and vision. And so I then had a friend, a great mentor of mine. He's still my friend today, amazing guy. And he showed me Elliot Hulse. And that was when I saw like structure and boundaries and respecting yourself, and also that we can use our breath and our bodies to like calm our mind down.
Yeah.
And we actually do these movements. He was the very first person to show me bioenergetic therapy.
Fuck
And,
yeah.
and from William Reich, he was a student of, and showing that our bodies actually store our emotional traumas. What happens to the mind happens to the body, and what happens to the body happens to the mind. So then we become very like imprisoned by our musculatory system. And you know, 10 years of living like that, you think it's just your personality, but it's not. It's actually your body is confining itself and expressing in a way that's trauma has made it and conditioned it. So I then learned, okay, well, maybe I can do other things other than abuse substances and using partying and all this to get out of my head. And so I saw Elliot Hulse really promoting that kind of work, and also just being a great speaker and a great strong man, like very strong figure. And so I started implementing those. And so, yeah, he was probably my very first coach in self-development, and I really love that because he was also kind of like a father figure. And that's kind of when I saw like what masculinity was, and I saw that wasn't around me at all. Like even the men around me were very feminine, and that's where that like spontaneity is. That's where that like recklessness and just like emotion and anxiety and just all this chaos was. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that the feminine is chaotic. I'm saying that without structure it is.
Got it. 100%.
And there wasn't any structure at a 17-year-old partier who was just going crazy. And so that's where he kind of introduced me, and then it just kind of started spiraling into he opened a lot of doors to other areas of self-development, and just fell in love ever since, man. And now it's just been a beautiful process. And now I'm 4 years sober. I've been sober for 4 years.
Dude, that's fucking dope.
Yeah, because I just feel that there's like other natural means to get that same state.
Yeah.
There's ice baths. Get into an ice bath and then go try to talk to a girl, like it's a lot easier because you just went through something so difficult, where we're using the substances as like a catalyst to get to that certain state. There's
Right.
natural means to get into that same state. And don't get me wrong, I think they serve their place and their purpose. But me personally, I just have found that there's other means in that way. And, we're still in medicine ceremonies, where we're using some of these plant medicines for intentional purposes, but not necessarily going to the club and like, getting drunk or something like that,
Yeah. Let's get into, I remember you telling me that you were like at one specific time in your life, like it was fucking reckless and you got in a car crash, I think, right?
Yes, sir.
Would you say that time was probably the hardest time of your life? Like just overall?
It was not the time leading up to it, but it was the time after it.
Oh, okay. Could you like let's get into that. And how'd you get out of that, by the way? So let's talk about that time and how'd you get out of that?
Yeah, man. So I was living in Salt Lake City, Utah. I was born and raised in Salt Lake City, Utah. And just partier. Just I had some jobs who were making me really good money, and so I was able to have my own place. And I was like the youngest guy with an apartment, so I was just able to like have the parties and do all that. I met a guy who gave me a job opportunity where doing HVAC, so heating vents and AC, right? Furnaces and ACs. And he said, well, we're opening up in Colorado, in Denver, and I want you to go out there and open it. And here I am, this 19-year-old reckless drug and alcoholic, like, okay, sure, I'll do that. But I have to say that man is, and to this day, the most divine man I've ever met in my life. Wow. He is by far the greatest man. Anytime we talk about this divine masculinity, his face comes up. Nice. He's the strongest, most generous man I've ever seen. And so he saw something in me that maybe I wasn't fulfilling. And that's why he gave me that opportunity. And so I move out to Denver and I open up that market, and it just goes booming. And so here I am making a bunch of money out here in Denver, Colorado, doing the HVAC and killing it, and just being this wicked good salesman, and just being just a reckless young boy. And now I turned 21, and here I am turning 21. Now I'm drinking every day. I'm partying every day.
Every day.
Dude, we were doing it every day.
Every day. Oh, shit.
We were doing it. Yeah, man, it was crazy. And we just had the opportunity. We just had the opportunity every which way. And I've been heavily in the festival culture for a long time. So I'm a big raver. I go to raves and all the time. And so that it was just nonstop, and making money and doing that. And I actually, and a night came where I was drinking and driving, and I was driving all the way from Boulder, Colorado, all the way down to Denver. It's about an hour drive at like 3 a.m.
Fuck.
I know. Yeah, man. And I ended up crashing, flipped my car like 3 times, almost killed myself. Damn. And had some bad situations with that. I actually fled and had some legal repercussions due to that, if you could imagine. And I fled, and I actually ended up fleeing the state altogether.
Did you break your back too, you said?
Yeah, man. So I broke my back. I busted open my elbow, busted open my eye, and I ran away from the cops.
With a broken back.
Yeah, man, with a broken back and everything. Pretty wild. I jumped off the side of the freeway, and then landed on my tailbone. So it was a compression fracture, right? And then just ran, and it's because I knew I was drunk. And so luckily I didn't die or anybody else. Very, very lucky of that case. We definitely had somebody watching over everybody during that situation. But so I left and I fled, and so that means I left that whole job opportunity behind, and I left them high and dry. What happened? One day I'm working, next day I'm out, and I dip. So I ended up going back to Utah, and got really gang affiliated, unfortunately.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because that was the connections who I had out there. They saw that I was struggling, and they allowed me to kind of work with them and be with them, and so got very gang affiliated. And that's so funny because that was kind of the toxic masculinity that I saw. That was the like men attract to that tribe.
Definitely.
whether it's good or bad depends on what you're resonating at. You know?
Yeah.
So all of a sudden I go back home and, you know, I'm on the run. I'm a fugitive. I'm now back heavy into drugs and alcohol because I just hate my life. I hate myself. I'm so ashamed of what happened. I'm so ashamed and losing that great job opportunity and just really fucking it up. And so then I just went downward spiral from there. I was just like, you know, bumming it, not having places to sleep and just getting very gang affiliated. And thankfully, I'm just gonna be super open and honest. Thankfully, I was arrested. I was arrested and I went to jail. I went to jail for 8 months. And it was and it's so funny. The way that I talk to my close friends about this, they're like, dude, you make jail sound amazing. Because it was the first time I had ever been sober in like years, right? I was getting meals every day. You know, I was able to like finally be with my own thoughts. I was finally able to meditate again. I remember the first week I was in there and I was, so real quick, you know, I got arrested. I got arrested and I spent time in jail and I served my time for that car accident and me running and all that. So thankfully, you know, I was able to get out of that and we'll get into that, but went to jail. And the very first week I'm in there, I start to recognize like these emotions coming back to me. And like, I could see like me starting to resonate at this like conscious level once more. And that's when I started noticing, I was like, holy shit, this lifestyle and drug addiction and drug abuse and alcohol abuse is actually diluting your spirit. It's diluting your emotions. It's actually making you unauthentic. And so as I was getting sober, I was getting healthy again. I was sleeping 8 hours a day. I was maybe sometimes more. I was working out again. It was like, wow, like it was like a timeout. Like I needed that. Like I really needed that
in jail.
In jail. I needed it in jail because then they're taking away all your phone. They know you dipping out. Like, yeah, I'm in jail and you time out. It's time to go to timeout. And some people use it for that opportunity and some people use it for bad, you know, and I used it for that. I saw that. I saw that as a great opportunity. Like, dang, dude, you know what? You've been going crazy. It's time to recollect your thoughts, recollect yourself, reconnect yourself to spirit. And that's exactly what happened. You know, I was meditating, I was reading, I was exercising, I was eating, I was sleeping, all your basic stuff. You know, sometimes you just have to get recollected. But the good thing was, and this is the craziest part, is I was extradited from Salt Lake City to Denver and did jail time in Denver. So when I was released 8 months later, I was homeless, I was broke, I didn't have anywhere to go. And so here I am, that guy that you see down that on like your main street in any main city, right out of jail, just homeless. And I show up on the doorstep of the man that gave me that job opportunity.
Holy fuck.
And I said, man, you know, I'm out of jail and, you know, I served my time. I'm so sorry for leaving you guys high and dry like that. But, you know, if you give me the opportunity, I would like to ask for a second chance.
Yeah.
And he said, yes.
Oh man. How did it feel? Like you probably were like, your heart must have been beating. Like you must have been,
it was desperation,
felt so many emotions too.
It was desperation. Like that's rock bottom, bro. Like when you're homeless out of jail with no money or nothing, like you have nowhere to go. You're at rock bottom. It's either that or you're going to fend for yourself in the streets. And that's not a place you want to be either. So it's like, you got to choose the lesser evils. And I thought, you know what, like the answer is always no if you don't ask. So let me go show up on this dude's doorstep and see if he'll take me in. And he did. He took me in. He let me sleep on his couch for about a week while he decided if I could come back to the company. Because at this point, I moved out here and we grew the company to like, you know, a multi-million-dollar company, and I just left. And so my responsibilities, the guys I were leading, it wasn't good. And so he gave me that opportunity back. And when he did that, I knew, oh my God, this is my second chance. And I'm going to do everything possible to make this man never regret this. So after that, bro, I was in the books like crazy. I didn't have any social media. I wasn't going out at all. I went completely sober. And within the first month, I sold more in that company than anybody combined.
Dude, that's so sick.
I went gangbusters, bro. Like that's literally awesome. As hard as I could. And they saw it. They saw like, oh, Austin came back and he came back with a vengeance. Like he came back to retake his name, you know, because everybody was like, dude, this guy's just a piece of shit. Fuck him, you know.
Oof.
You know, that's kind of how the vibe was when I came back. It's like, dude, you left and you went off and did all this other crazy stuff. So it really took, and that was, you know, believe it or not, man, that was only 3 years ago.
Damn, fuck, what a 180.
3 years. Yeah, man. Within 3 years of just complete dedication, complete grind, complete focus, complete faith, man, just faith that it would turn out, you know? And honestly, the self-made man is a myth, you know? I couldn't have done it without him. And those around me that gave me the opportunity to come back. And yeah, man. So that's why, it is about a giving thing, and it is also about a receiving thing. And, I've seen some low days, and seen some high days. And so it's all about giving back and giving those people opportunities to do that. And now that I'm in a higher place, a much higher place, healthy and successful, I just look to give the opportunities that I was given,
Dude, yeah.
and with the same technologies now that I've used to go through all that. I was on probation for a while. I was still going through quite a bit of the ringer even after jail. And so, going from broke to, having my own house, within 3 years, it took a lot.
Awesome.
And a lot of what I teach now applies to that, optimizing your breath, optimizing your health, optimizing your sleep, optimizing a wellness and your physicality and your fitness. All of these things make you a better human. And so if you can do these good things, then you can become a better human and achieve those goals that you set forth. And so I'm just very fortunate, man. I'm very fortunate those who give me that chance. But yeah, man, those are some crazy times.
Yeah, that's a fucking wild story. Well, congratulations, man. I mean, that's literally one of the craziest stories I've heard, man. And you're 20, how old?
I'm 25. So that
25.
happened when I was 22.
22. Damn, bro. That's a fucking crazy story.
Yeah.
And how are you? And how are you now? Like I see you, you're out, you're traveling, you're still like having a good time now, like, which is great.
Yeah.
You got your girl. That's awesome.
Yeah. No, everything's beautiful, man. Yeah, very abundant. And I'm still into festivals. I'm raving it all the time. My girl's a marketing coordinator for the festivals all around the country.
So sick.
So she just does her thing, and I'm just here supporting her, and we travel everywhere and having fun. And I still now run that company. And that company has now grown like 300% in the last 3 years since I've been back.
Yeah.
So that company is just blowing up, and next year it's going to be even bigger. So that company, I just can't stay away from, because it's like an emotional, I bled for that company, that gave me the opportunity. So that company's just taken off, and I love bringing guys in, and I love doing sales, because that's what I do. I really teach salesmen how to be effective communicators, and how to build authentic relationships and to express themselves fully.
Yeah.
So I'm basically a sales coach, and I manage the company out here, and then I have Trisman, which is my men's consulting company, where I then teach men optimization of their physical, mental, and spiritual health, while also cultivating their testosterone. I focus heavily on testosterone cultivation.
Yeah.
So yeah, now we're just killing it, man. This is it's been nothing but fun and busy, super busy, but I love that. Love a full plate. And yeah, man, just looking for more opportunities to scale and help and be immersed. And that's where Troy Casey, his band clan was a great opportunity for me, kind of get me involved in that culture and meeting with yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to touch on some of those things, but let's go into relationships, because man, it is probably some of the best times of my life when you're in a relationship and you're like a self-developed person, self-aware person. You have a partner who's also on that same wavelength, and just that dynamic with the male and female that are both striving for more and can communicate properly. Could you like talk a little bit about your relationship and like how healthy it is, and how you guys communicate, like, if you have any rituals and stuff?
Absolutely, brother. No, it's a huge thing. It's actually something I really focus on with all my clients, is masculine and feminine dynamics, and the difference between the two, and how to actually uphold a masculine polarity, and a dominant polarity, and then when to have a submissive, and how to have that balance, and that's something that isn't taught. It's something that's neglected. And it's also because there's not good examples of it. I never, until the owner, the guy who gave me that job opportunity, he's the only healthy relationship I've ever seen in my life. My mom and dad were never together. None of my families have been together. So he's been with his wife for 12 years. And so they're a beautiful example of this. And so I really modeled them, and I really watched it. And then I watched people like Elliot Hulse, his wife, and I just kind of started studying and seeing these type of dynamics between the relationships, the feminine polarity and then the masculine polarity, and kind of how they interact and how they have dynamics. And that was actually something that I was shown at a very early age, was that I had a very innate acuity to relationships. I always was good with relationships. I always knew how to and I'm not just talking about girls, I'm talking about, friendships, just relationship dynamics in general, social dynamics. I was always very social. And So I started so now that's really what I work on heavily is I feel like men have a very hard time dating or even like knowing how to like hold himself or how to gain respect, how to have a dominant polarity and when to have a submissive one. They don't know these dynamics, and they also don't know the communication between it. So with my girlfriend, it was beautiful, man, because I had already been doing this men's work.
Yeah.
And I had this high respect of myself, and I had this high diligence and discipline in my practices.
Yeah.
And women will only respect you as high as you respect your disciplines, and they judge you directly on how closely related your disciplines are. And also, what I learned heavily was women will respect you based on how you respect your higher authority. If you live, and you know, a lot of people can come at me on this, but I mean, in a patriarchal society where a lot of people would agree that, you know, the man is the head of the household, that doesn't mean that he upholds every single responsibility. It doesn't mean he can do everything either. You know, just men are typically the lead of the household. Right? Well, if your woman is to be looking at you as the head of the household, how are you looking at the man who is head of you? And that's how they're gonna respect you, and that's how they're gonna have a relationship towards you, is how do you have that respect and that relationship with your eternal higher self or higher God or whatever you want to consider it.
Yeah.
And so when she met me, I was really, really diligent in my disciplines. I was very on top of this. I was traveling to all the man clans. I was doing all that. She saw just how disciplined I was, and because of that, she had a lot of respect. And that was something that I noticed that I really appreciated, is like she respected me a lot, and I wanted to uphold that. And this was a really tricky thing, bro, because girls will always, strong feminine women will really test if you are the man that you say you are, and they'll also test to see if they're the man that they deserve, or vice versa, if you deserve them, right? So they'll shit test you.
Yeah.
And so, you know, if I'm over here like, you know, oh baby, I got to wake up at 6 a.m. do ice bath today. And then all of a sudden 6 a.m. comes around. She's like, no, baby, don't leave me. Don't, just stay in bed with me. Like, stay in this cozy bed. And you're just like, okay. Then it's like,
yeah.
Like, oh, wait a minute. I was hoping that you were going to uphold your word as a man and stay disciplined. Now that you did that, I just lost a bit of respect for you.
You gave into me.
You gave into the easier route. You gave into the easy way out. And so, you know, I was always like upholding my word. You know, women will always remember your word. And so you have, whatever you say you do, you have to do. Yeah. And so, you know, I was like, you know, I got to go here. I got to do this. I got to do my ice baths. I got to wake up. I got to go here. I'm working. And by doing that, she respected me highly. And she would always test me, you know, like, no, baby, just do this. No, baby, just come here. And it wasn't that I wasn't just listening to her, like not compromising, because there's a lot of that. And that's what I'm learning as now we're going further and maturing our relationship, is there's a lot of compromising. But what I won't compromise is my vision, my purpose, and my mission. Yeah. She knows that. She respects that. I cannot compromise myself as a man. I can't compromise myself as on my mission or on my purpose. She knows that if I have to do something for my mission and purpose, or go have a nice night out with her, she knows I'll always choose my vision and purpose.
Yeah, that's great.
And that's where I see men lacking today. Is they will always choose the easier route. They'll always choose the cuddled up, watching Netflix, eating the McDonald's, and then having a few sex rounds, you know, rather than being like, no, I got to go to the gym. I got to do the ice bath. I got to do this. Yeah. And if you do too much of that, then you just won't have a relationship. I understand that. So there is a balance, but it's just, you have to uphold that honor and that respect in your vision and your purpose. And she will love you the more for it. She'll see you as an alpha male. She'll see you as a man who is determined in his power and in his purpose. Because if you're not, she will be, and then you will be turned into the woman in the relationship. That's how it is. There's a great book on this, and it's a beautiful book. The best book I've ever read. It's my favorite book. I read it. I've read it like 5 times now this year. The Way, the Superior. Oh,
we've talked about this book about 7 times on this podcast.
Yes.
Every single person on this podcast, I bring it up. They've read it. It is the fucking greatest. Guys, if you guys have not got into The Way, the Superior Man yet, please go buy that now.
You're doing yourself a disservice. You're doing yourself, and you're doing every person in your life a disservice by not reading this book.
That's bro, what a fucking great book that is. Huh?
It is such a good
mic. Oh my
No,
God.
it's a great book because it
Yeah.
just shows the natural polarities of masculine and feminine. And you cannot ignore these natural polarities. I'm sorry, you can't.
Yeah.
And when you are at your highest masculine, guess what happens? She'll fall into her highest feminine,
Yeah, bro.
right?
After
And
I
then
read that book, it's like magic almost. Like it was the first example of how to really like be a man, be solid, and
Mhm.
let her do her own thing and
Yeah,
not get swooped up in her emotional tornado and
bro.
be a center, and she'll calm down, and then you guys could enjoy each other that way.
Elliot Hulse, man. Elliot Hulse says it all the time. Women want to throw you off your storm.
Mm-hmm.
They want to bring you into their storm.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't let that happen. You have to be strong enough to let her fall apart around you and be okay with that and hold space.
Mm-hmm.
Doing this whole men's work and going to all these retreats and doing all the ceremonies, I always kept hearing this word, hold space, hold space. Like, what does that mean, hold space? And I learned that it just means ground yourself in this present moment and let whatever's going on go on naturally.
Yeah.
Don't try to control it. Don't try to fix it.
Yeah.
And that's what happens with the woman, is like something goes wrong and you're just like, tell me what the details are so I can fix it. I'll fix it right now.
Yeah.
Like this masculine linear brain. That's what it does,
Yeah.
where all it's supposed to be is hold that presence, hold that grounding,
Yeah.
and let what's going on go on and just be there for her and listen. And that's the best thing that I can give advice, other than just uphold your truth and your purpose and your vision above anything else, is be solid, man. Like, be solid. Let her surrender to you, and don't get caught up in it. And don't try to fix her. That was the number one thing I had to learn, man. And listen. That was the one word I was looking for. Listen, just listen. And the more you listen, the more that you display respect. And I had to learn that because I'm a talker, man. I talk all day.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like I had to learn to like allow, breathe. What does my body feel like right now? Like, let me breathe in my body. Let me relax. Instead of try to be like all out here. And that's what Elliot really showed me that. So Elliot's a great example of that book, The Way of Superior Man, and his dynamic with his wife as well. And having a polarized masculine energy. And then his wife is very feminine. And that's what happened with me, is as soon as I started practicing these arts and cultivating my masculinity, all of a sudden a beautiful feminine woman came into my life. And she's the most feminine woman I've ever been around. Yeah. And what's crazy is she also is a business owner. So she's super powerful woman. People bow down to her, like they work towards her. She's great. But with me, she's very submissive. Mm-hmm. And I love that, and it's the king and the queen dynamic. Yeah. And so, and she holds me on my shit, bro. And that's exactly what women will do, is they'll call you out when you're not upholding yourself. And that's so beautiful for them to do that, is that nothing makes a man more of a man than a woman calling him out on his
I've been there.
Damn. Like, only men can make men, but only a woman can make a man show up. That makes sense, because like being around a man will make you a man. You have to be around your brothers. A woman can't raise a man as much as a man can raise a man. And I'll stick to that word. That's a really sensitive area. But I was raised by a single mother. And I had to go out looking for a man to raise me. Because I didn't have that discipline. I didn't have that structure that was in the household all the time. And so, but a woman will make that man show up, because that gets down to his heart, that gets down to his soul. And so, so I love women for that, man. They sharpen men like crazy. They sharpen when they make him show up. Are you going to be this beta boy? Are you going to be the man that you said you were going to be? I'm here for the alpha, I'm here. Are you really going to be that man? Or are you just going to continue pussyfooting? And that's unfortunately what I'm seeing right now, and this is a sensitive subject. I'm more than happy to continue talking about it any other time with anybody else, but it's kind of topsy-turvy. Men are not being men right now, and it's forcing women to step into that role.
Yeah. It's kind of gross too.
It's sad, bro. It's sad. Yeah. Where men are just kind of like letting the woman always take the charge and always take control, and I'll just sit here, and if she gives me pussy once a week, I'll be okay and everything's fine, and I'll continue doing what I need to get that pussy and to get her approval, and not making her feel safe, and not making her feel like she can truly surrender, because she doesn't fully trust you. So now she has to be the one in charge. She has to be the one who's fighting out there in the world because you're not doing that, you know? And, you can give a woman a house, but she's going to be the one who makes it a home. So there is this dynamic here, and understanding the polarity is extremely important, and respecting the polarities. The more masculinized you become, the more polarized as a man you become, the more you allow your woman to become her feminine self, nurturer, lover, creative, spontaneous, bringing life. And then you hold that structure, you hold that safety, you hold that presence, you hold that to allow her to be in that way. The Bible says it as well. The Bible is beautiful. It says men are the fence and women are the garden. Without the garden, the fence has no purpose. And without the fence, the garden is trampled on.
That's beautiful, man.
And so it's about that co-creation. It's about that. It's that synergy. So you can't be one without the other. And each one does have a very specific ability that the other does not have, or could do as well. Right. So that goes into just what I'll touch on as well, is what I really focus on and what I focused on this year that changed my entire life. That was one, sexual alchemy. I now practice sexual alchemy on a day-to-day basis through practices of Taoist practice with Maktak Chia.
Yeah, could you explain that? Do you do like the orbit breathing, or what do you do?
100%. And essentially, it's testosterone cultivation.
Okay.
It's reestablishing love and presence back into the manhood rather than shame and guilt. So we're doing testicle breathing. We're reestablishing energy back into our testicles and our penis, making there be love there, not shame and guilt. So there's a lot of sexual alchemy work with breath work, and there's the orbital breath, like you said. There's an understanding that the testes are just one part of your endocrine system.
Okay.
Your pancreas, your thyroid, your pineal, all these different glands that are working very, very good and making good enzymes and good hormonal productions. And when we're eating very bad foods, toxic foods, when we're eating xenoestrogens, like soy, or we're eating things like glyphosate, these things destroy the endocrine system, which then cuts off a lot of that hormonal flow and makes you kind of shriveled up. Right. So sexual alchemy is one, turning that sexual energy into creative energy, but also reestablishing love back into these areas that we have been shamed and guilted of, and also semen retention, holding in that energy. That energy is very, very powerful. I haven't, in porn, getting off porn, I haven't watched porn in over a year now. What I really focused on this year, other than the sexual alchemy work, was testosterone cultivation. Got it. And I'm very huge on that now. I'm very huge because when you have these things that create more estrogen in the body, the testosterone goes down, and then you literally are like pairing up with the opposite of you. So whatever level you're at, that your co-partner is going to be at as well. So when I started getting my testosterone up, I got with a woman who had a lot of estrogen, who was very feminine. Right. If I didn't have a lot of testosterone, that's why I was usually with more masculine women. It's just how polarity works, right? The opposites attract. So if you're, so what's kind of happening is it's kind of balancing it out here, where testosterone's actually dropped 40% in 40 years. That's 1% every year. And that means that we'd be at almost a 50-50 balance, right? And that's due to a lot of foods that we're eating, high stress, and not putting enough awareness and attention into that area where it's producing testosterone. So that was one thing that I noticed, is as soon as I started doing work like that, doing men's work, doing breath work, detoxifying, getting my testosterone right, all of a sudden I had this beautiful woman come into my life, and it matched up so well. And then her and I had a lot of work on the dynamic, because she saw me as this very busy man. I'm working 14-hour days. Damn. And I eat on 14-hour days. Then I go to the gym. So I'm at 6 a.m. to 12 a.m. every day. That's what I've been doing. And so when I wasn't texting her nonstop, she's like, you even like me? Like, you're not even putting anything into this. And I had to explain to her, like, this is what a man does. Like, I'm driven on my vision, I'm on my purpose. And it had to be a real shift for her, where all the guys were like chasing her, texting her nonstop, to being this guy that could barely text her throughout the day. And she had to have this reality check of that's what a man is. He's not a boy who's thirsty. He's a man who's on his vision and on his purpose. And I have to respect him in that space.
Nice, man. That's so cool. Let's go to the religion part a little bit. What do you think about religion? Do you have a religion? What do you think about religion?
Yeah, man. I was actually grown up, I was raised Mormon LDS, Mormon, uh,
What's
uh,
LDS?
Mormonism over
Okay.
in Utah, Salt Lake City, Utah. The Mormons,
Hmm.
like missionaries and all that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Huh?
basically, it's basically a Christian religion,
Got it.
right? And I was raised that way, but then I started. My dad, he showed me Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism. So I've always had this deep connection to this spirit. I just didn't really, at a young age, know exactly what that God was for me.
Yeah.
Because I saw that in this Christian religion that was being portrayed by the Mormonism was that it was very tyrannical, and
Mm.
we had to like follow these certain way of life and the certain rules um, in a very toxic way. And then I started seeing Hindu and Taoism and Buddhism that was very different. And
Yeah.
so I've studied religion for a very long time. It's always been very fascinating to me. I've always had a deep connection with spirit. It's just been evolved, and it's always been kind of what resonates with me. And as of late, the Native American traditions really resonate with me very heavily, because they bring about nature,
Mm.
and they bring about the elements having a spirit, and they bring about nature. They bring to the understanding about the masculine and feminine polarities. They bring about nature having a consciousness. They also do believe in a God, and so I really resonate with a lot of their practices and how they go about things. But what also resonates and what I totally understand is the Christian religion is made by men and for men, and I was taught that by Elliot Hulse,
Yeah.
because men work best in a hierarchy.
Hmm.
And when you look up to your father, there's this deep understanding of looking up to the father, in the Christian religion. I was actually going to an Orthodox Christian church for a couple of years this last
Wow. Really?
yeah. Mhm.
Damn. That's
And
crazy.
I liked it. I did like the structure. I liked what their portraying was. I liked what they were doing. And I still do. And I still do. It just doesn't resonate with me as much as what I've been doing.
Yeah.
And so I'm just always constantly developing my understanding of consciousness and developing myself with this God, right? I don't know if I necessarily have this idea of God being an actual being, maybe like the Christians would. But I do know that it is an infinite intelligence that we can pay attention to, and that it is in with all living things, and
Yeah.
we do come from it. I do know that we do come from this source, and that this spirit does encase everything.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's more of a spirituality and esoteric belief that kind of I resonate with quite heavily. I studied a lot of ancient Egyptian texts where they're talking a lot about this as well, with the balance of the universe, the principles of nature being more of the consciousness. And then just kind of more research. What we're finding is that everything is kind of conscious, and it's all one universal consciousness.
Hmm.
That is kind of what I view as God, and that there's a spirit behind that.
Yeah.
So I guess I was tainted, and I see a lot of people that are very what's the word? I don't want to say perverted, but they are very thrown off by the word spirit and God because of the indoctrination that they've had as children.
Yeah. Definitely.
That's kind of what I've ran into. So
Yeah.
whenever they see my work and they're like, "Oh, spiritual, I'm not a spiritual person," like, and they get kind of crazy about it, and they're like, "God, what do you mean God? The walk in grace? No, no, no." Like, they have these like annotations and this already preconceived notion of what that word means because they were indoctrinated as children, as that's what it means.
Right.
And so really what I've been working to do is reestablish relationships with these terms: grace, God, spirit, sitting in presence. And that's what the Native American traditions have really helped me with, is like reestablishing an understanding that this is more of a presence, and this is more of a relationship that you have with you personally.
Mm.
This is all your personal relationship with a spirit or God or whatever you have. It's not really about some of these things that have been it's been turned into, like fear and control.
Yeah.
The first Bible was written, or the Bible was actually edited many times, but in 1605 King James edited and took three books out of that Bible. and and you wonder why. And it was kind of because there was this thing that they wanted to control people with it. But if you go to look at, I'm always looking for the source. When I study religions, I'm looking for the source, because if you really bring all the major religions into one thing, and then you really boil them down into one center and core, they all believe the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just different perspectives on maybe the same thing.
Yeah.
right? There's a source there. There is something we came from. There is this infinite intelligence and wisdom that we can attain to, we can aspire to be like, we can connect with. And then you want to throw any face on it you want. That's cool. That's just for your own human mind to comprehend what that energy is, because it's probably something so huge and vast that we as humans can't even comprehend it.
Right.
And so, yeah, so I live by a term that Bruce Lee lived by, and it has always resonated with me, especially when searching for spiritual connection and religion, is absorb what is useful, discard what is not, and add what is my own. And so I'm constantly using my intuition to tell me what it is that resonates with me and what helps me, and always using my intuition as a guide to what doesn't. And so when I'm reading the Quran, when I read the Bible, when I read the Book of Mormon, when I'm looking at these Sanskrits from the Hindu religion, when I'm sitting in an Orthodox church and I'm listening to them, I'm not listening with a filter. I'm just listening with intentions of what can I use, what resonates with me, what doesn't, and what can I use that is my own, because I think that there's truths in everything. And it's Socrates that states, it is the mark of a truly gifted mind that can think of a thought and entertain a thought without fully accepting it.
Yeah.
And so that's what I've really done with all major religions, especially even Satanism. I've studied a lot of Satanism.
That's dope.
Why would you not, if you're going to pick a side?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter about picking. It's just understand maybe what this thing represents.
Yeah.
Before maybe you have an opinion on it. That's an educated person.
Yeah.
You can't just be like, well, this person says that this guy, Satan, he's bad. And so I'm like, you got to get into it. Understand, well, okay, well, let me be my own investigator, be my own educated guy. What makes this so bad?
I picked one up before too, and I read a couple pages off of there.
You did?
Yeah. It was like, it was pretty straight up though. It was more like, if someone fucks you up, you can fuck them up.
It's
like an eye for an eye almost, but
yeah, it's more about acceptance of everything. There is no rules. There is no order. There is nothing that like brings us to this holy thing. It's almost the eradication there of this holy life thing. Where we are such good people if we live in grace, and we're self-developers, and we want to be good, motivated people. This ideology is more like, fuck all that shit. Like, why do all that shit? Who fucking cares? Be yourself. And that's what I really saw, is there was almost this freedom with acceptance. Because in this other way of thinking, there's a lot of rules, regulations, and disciplines that make you into this thing. And sometimes that can be a little exhausting and maybe even take some of the magic away, and that's what we're constantly looking. There's a lot of these self-help junkies. They're like, maybe this will be the next book that will finally get me to that goal I always wanted. Maybe this next class will finally be it. I will feel whole and happy. Where then there's a lot of practices within Satanism that's just saying, how about you just say, fuck all that shit and just be yourself. And so there's power in that, and like I said, I absorb it as useful, I discard what isn't, and I add what is my own. When I turn to page like 225 of the Satan Bible and they start talking about sacrifices, I'm like, okay, that's enough for me. I'm like, all right, that's not what I read.
Discard this now.
Exactly, right? Exactly. Okay, I discard this. This doesn't, not resonating with that. But oh wait, there's freedom in not giving a fuck. Wow. Okay, I'll take that. That's a gem. So it's like there's truth in everything.
You're very wise to be able to get the gold out of something that's considered extreme taboo.
Exactly. And that's exactly the man you got to be. You got to be that guy who, you got to be that guy who's not just following orders from the last guy. 40 years ago, they were saying, don't do this. And so you're going to not do that. Like, how about you just find out for yourself and you be a real man, And so that's kind of what I really see in spirituality is, it's like, that's your relationship to cultivate. And you can have teachers and people who can point you in a direction that you get your own intuition and develop your own sense. And that's what I've really seen with the natives. I work with shaman elders. I'm very blessed to be a part of their culture and work with them heavily. And over at Sham's property where we just work with Troy Casey is very in click with the natives. He was down in the Amazon for a long time. He saw how the indigenous people were living. And there's a lot of teachers that can point you in this direction to kind of cultivate your own relationship. Right. And that's what they've kind of helped me do, is they've given me tools. There's a lot of ancient tools out there, breathwork, meditation, plant medicines, sweat lodges, there's Bibles, there's churches. There's a lot of people that can help you cultivate your own relationship with spirit.
Yeah.
What I get offended of is that people tell you this is the only way that you should see spirit. This is one God and one God only. That to me is like, well, wait a minute, let me decide that, you know. And that's what you're given as a freedom as your own man is and human being, is that you get to decide that, you get to cultivate with that and resonate with whatever it is.
Yeah, dude, that's funny that you bring that up, because my mom is she's a born again Christian, and at first it was really annoying to me. And then she like would share a lot of things from the Bible, and I'm like, oh no, that's pretty cool. I like that. I like that. I like that. And we talk and we share ideas, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I resonate with that a lot. And then the only part that we would get messed up was when she'd be like, so Jesus is the only way, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, shit. Exactly. Everything else was amazing, except the fact that you're saying, like, if
this
you don't.
This is the only, that freaks me out, dude. Like, I get this, like, weird, like, gross, like, I get weird heebie-jeebies when you're like, this is the only way. I'm like, whoa. I can't feel that way. Confine me. I can't feel that way. I'm a very open being. I want to be able to like have this spirit go with me. And don't get me wrong, I have structure. I have boundaries. I've defined my masculinity as that way. But my divine feminine says, don't confine me to one way. What if other things inspire me? And I should be able to open up to that.
Dude, that's awesome.
And so, yeah, that's beautiful, bro. Cause I guess I'll just touch on, I do 110%.
Bless you.
Oh, as we're talking about that, huh? Yeah. So, I will say, I believe Jesus Christ was 110% a real person. I think Siddhartha, which is the Buddha's actual name, I believe he was a real person. I believe a lot of very, very highly evolved, spiritually and mentally inclined men have come to this earth, and shared a lot of wisdoms, and you can consider them prophets, if you will, who conveyed information from this source consciousness, infinite intelligence, and they're almost become the vessel for it. I believe those men are real. I believe their words, and you can read and study. Elliot Hulse, I asked him what he reads, and he says he doesn't read the actual Bible. He's learning Latin because he's reading the actual scrolls.
I love that.
That's a man who's like going to the source, bro. Like, you know, so that's kind of what needs to happen is, you know, it should be a fun thing to think about. Ooh, I'm an investigator. Let's go see and read and find out and investigate and see what resonates with me. That's a fun thing to do, man. There's not a lot of places in time and history where you can literally jump on the internet and read all about these religions and study and have fun with it, man. Like, are we ever going to wake up one day and be like, yep, I made it. I learned it. I now know it all. Like that's never going to happen. So it's more about the journey about it, and that journey is having fun with it, man. Like, have fun figuring out what you believe in, figure out what resonates with you. Like, go to a church, go sit in an Orthodox church on a Sunday, go see what's up, you know, maybe go talk to a missionary, you know, go down to Tibet and go see how the monks are living. Like, this is a beautiful life that you're able to do that, you know, man. Like there was times where if you even didn't say say that you didn't believe in Jesus Christ, you'd get freaking crucified. Yeah. You know, so this is a beautiful time that we have. And, you know, thank God for America, you know, being able to give us that freedom to do that, you know, protected by the First Amendment. And yeah, brother, I love it.
Yeah, man. Have you come to my realization? Religion has been like a good structure on how to live a beautiful physical life, and spirit and like Taoism for me was more about understanding that anything could go and you'd be fine. Like with the yin and yang, like knowing there's a physical world and there's a spiritual world, and the spiritual world has no boundaries, but the physical world, you can fuck your shit up. And I feel like Christianity is like, yo, well, if you want to, you know, live a flourishing, loving life, like, let's give you a book with some guidance, because this physical world is also very real.
So Paul Chek says it best. Yeah. He says, if you need a daddy, you follow Christianity religions. If you don't, you follow Eastern. Because maybe you're in a point in your life where you need some guidance. Yeah. And, you know, maybe the Bible is resonating with you, or God is speaking to you, or maybe you didn't have a strong father. So now you have And maybe you now need that religion that's going to help you age in that direction. There's nothing wrong with that. A lot of what we can say could be coined and taken out of context.
Yeah.
If you are in a point in your life, like many of us who've gone through hard times, and you need a little bit of that structure, you need a God to tell you like, yo, shape up, then beautiful.
Yeah.
If you're in a place where maybe more of the esoteric, spiritual woo is really helping you out, then that's great. Go with what is feeling right, man. The body and the mind will always, the body, spirit, and mind will always guide you. It's always your resistance to it that stops you, you know? And you have to be open enough to be able to change and absorb new information and have new experiences. You know, like your belief today may not be your belief in 5 years, and you got to be okay with that.
Yeah.
You know? And same with me. I'm a very young guy in this whole men's development. You know, I'm 25 years old. My views on this are going to more than, and they should be different in 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's about that development process. There's this development process. There's this evolution in that, you know, and what I've really tried to focus on, being someone who's been in both sides and tried to absorb what is useful, discard what isn't, and add what is my own, is combining the two. You know, I want to see structure that you would see in the Christian religion with like masculine polarity with that spiritual abundance and femininity coming together. And that's where I've seen the Native Americans do it better than anybody.
Okay. You got to share some stuff. Where can we learn more about that?
By coming to Tribesmen's retreats.
Okay. Fuck yeah. Yeah, we're having a retreat at the end of the month in January, where the Navajo shaman will be here, and we do it literally the first day is the protection way, which is the masculine. The Saturday is the beauty way, which is the feminine. So, dude, when you work with the natives, they have a very deep understanding of bringing those two polarities together, where there is this, they call it Father Sky and Mother Earth. And so Father Sky is what? Holding up the earth. And Mother Earth is where everything comes from. So they have this beautiful relationship of understanding the masculine and its role. What we're talking about was the Christian religion. It has the structure, it has the guidance. Well, they have that too. They're understanding that it is the protection way, the strong way. And then they have the feminine, which is Mother Earth comes from it all. And there's this energy about it. There's this subtlety. There's this love. There's this expression that comes with it, and they know this. And so they're the only, and that's why it resonates so much with me right now, and it's really something that has become a part of me, is because they are bringing both of those spectrums together. And there is this unity, there is this yin and yang. It's not just one or the other, and it's not back and forth. It's really a holistic view of spirituality. Yeah, man.
And so Tribesman works with the Navajo, with a Navajo elder who's a shaman, and he comes and works with us. Also, what he's done to me is help me educate me in these type of practices, to where I can always facilitate breath work in these ways, in these beautiful ways. And also, you can come out. You know, I'm not the all top of anything. I'm not the best at anything. Tribesman's essentially bringing in a lot of these people that then can just get exposure to other people like yourself, you know? So we're having them come out. We're having him come out, the shaman, for the full weekend at the end of January 21st through the 23rd. And you can, all lodging is included, and you can be with him. We're going to learn native ways, native songs, native blessings, and he's going to teach it better than me. This is just me conveying the information, you know? Yeah. I was down in Eden. I spent some time in Eden with the Navajo, where we did a lot of sweat lodge, and we were in a teepee, and did plant medicines, and doing it in the way of the natives is really beautiful, because you get to see and feel that energy. There's really something there when they have this strong masculine, but then this beautiful subtle emotion of feminine. They bring it together because they know how powerful that it is, the most powerful when it is together. Yeah. So if we can bring, if anybody would like to come out to these things or reach out to me, we can facilitate it. I'm going to be having an event every single month for the rest of the year. Or 2022. And we're going to be doing more of the Navajo way. We're going to be doing more cultivation with spirit, more cultivation with the nature, because that's ultimately what they do, man, is they're just very intentional about connecting with nature. Yeah. You know? And so we're working with that all the time. I'm doing one-on-one coaching on Zoom as well as in person, and we're having events and classes every month now.
And it's a Tribesman on Instagram, or?
Yeah, tribesmen, it's tribes.men on Instagram. And then my website's tribes-men.com, where everything's going on in there. You can go to the event page and you can kind of see what's going on there. On Instagram, that's kind of where we're most active.
Yeah.
And I'm also we're piecing together kind of like what our mission is, and trying to cultivate a brotherhood. The
Yeah.
idea of tribes is reconnecting tribalism and our
Yeah.
men back together with tribes, and bringing men together and just having that support group of brotherhood. And so that's kind of what's going on Instagram. And we're also open to discuss with more coaches as well. We want to, like I said, I'm not the only coach that knows what's going on. So we're also open to bringing in more coaches for tribesmen and more facilitators who want to come on the property and do other classes with us and facilitate themselves.
Yeah.
Because that's something that's very open. Is, I'm really looking to bring in more people and bring in more exposure to others. And also, if my way is not the only way, my way of teaching and cultivating is not the only way. So other people might have another way, and other people might resonate with that way rather than my way. And I want to be able to give the platform or the arrangement for those two to meet.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
So yeah, because I'm not in competition. I think it's time to get out of that mind state, man. Of course, as a masculine man, you will be in a healthy competition. I want to be the best. I want to do this thing for the best. But there's a difference in an abundance mind state and a generous mind state when being in competition, and being someone in competition that wants to see other people fail.
Yeah.
I want to come at it from abundance standpoint, where let's bring all of these facilitators that resonate on the same message I do, and who want to meet more men, and hey, let's get more men in here so we can meet together, and we build a community that way. I think what's happened is there's like a lot of competition and division. And I don't like that. And I think that we're moving out of that way, coming into the age of Aquarius. We're moving out of the Pisces. We're moving out of the duality, and we're moving into a wholeness. And that's why everybody's looking at this holistic lifestyle. This is why everybody's looking at these not even new, they're very old ways, but they're bringing it into the new light, and that's what's happening.
I love that. So we've touched on a lot of topics, relationship, hard times, religion. I'm going to hit you just with some finishing questions.
Yeah.
One of the biggest ones is, where are you headed? What is your vision for your life? Where do you see this ship going?
Yeah, man. To just impact as many people as possible, as many men as possible, with emotional clarity, with cultivating testosterone. Big goals is to get our testosterone back up. We're depleted right now. Infertility is through the roof right now. Testosterone's down more than ever. Men are not confident. Men do not know how to speak. Men don't know how to effectively communicate. Men don't know how to show up in their lives fully. They're afraid. There's a lot of issues, and I don't blame anybody. For this. But my goal is to bring out these new ways, bring out these old ancient wisdoms and technologies like breathwork, bioenergetics, qigong, martial arts, ice baths, cold immersion therapy, bringing dynamic meditations, all these different things to help men become better men, so then ultimately they can lead better lives and more whole lives, so then they can affect more people around them as well, having this ripple effect. The other thing is, I just want to keep inducing more fullness into everybody's life, and bring some of these ancient ways into the modern lifestyle. And my ultimate goal, man, is we want to have a tribesman retreat out in Costa Rica. And we want people full self-sustaining community where people can come out and learn how to fully self-sustain and bring it back to the States, be there, seeing, permaculture, growing your own food, raising your own food, how to do it and live off land, as well as these other technologies like breath work and qigong and other things. You can come out to the retreat, learn these things, learn these technologies, learn these ways, and then take it back to the States. That's kind of my ultimate all be all goal, is to have a self-sustaining retreat where we can teach others to do that same thing.
Dude, I fucking love that. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, dude, let's do it.
That's sweet. Yeah, fuck yeah. Another closing question. What do you think the world needs, and what is your wish for the world?
Wow, that's a really good question. The world needs emotionally intelligent but very strong men. The world needs us to respect and honor the polarities within ourselves and within our partners. to honor ourselves in our fullest, and then honors others and their fullness. We desperately need men that are willing to bring about change in the world, even if it is not easy, and going against the resistance. As far as the easy way out will always be there, and we need men who are willing to say that that's not the right way.
That's beautiful.
What was the other question? I forgot.
Your wish for the world and what you think the world needs.
Okay, the wish for the world is to reconnect, and establish a connection with spirit and nature into modern lifestyle. It doesn't have to be divided. I see that it's very divided. You're either this hippie that's living out of a van, meditating, eating granola, or you're this big shot driving limos and living in high-rise apartments downtown LA. I think that there's too much of this ideology of division. I think you can be both. You can be someone who's in tune and in touch with your spirit, your mind, your body, and nature, and still be very materially and financially successful. I think that it's time for us all to come back to the awareness of spirit and nature being an intricate part of our lives, while still living our very modern lifestyles.
Yeah, man, there's no reason for us to go back. I think we can just keep progressing forward, up, but also, getting deep down into spirit and letting that support that.
Ground the root, expand towards the sky. That's the one.
That's beautiful, man. I think we're gonna leave it right off on there, man.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much for being on, dude. You're such a great guest on here.
Thank you so much, man. And all the blessings and love to you, man. Let's link up soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Where can people find you, my man?
Yeah, so Instagram is tribes-men. My website is tribes-men.com. And that's where we're active, man. If you go on there, you can find out how to reach out to me personally. You can email me. You can even go to my Schedulicity from my website and even schedule one-on-one personal coaching via Zoom, where we can do bioenergetics. We can talk about the feminine masculine dynamic training. We can do effective communications training. We can do sexual cultivation, like we've been talking about, nutrition. We can do all this stuff, man. It's fun. It's fun work. Come find me, come talk to me. And on there is our events for all of our classes coming up as well. We have a grounding class, which is my flagship of my company. It is the class where it's basically the pseudo initiation into manhood. Grounding class. I learned it from Elliot Hulse, his grounding camp, and I put my own Native American spin on it. And we have that class coming up February 26th in Denver, Colorado. So just get at me.
That's so fucking cool. All right, guys. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace out.